You say that some of the observations were taken. Is it taken and corrected, or taken or just we have heard you?
No.
Is that what it means?
Corrected. For instance, most of these issues they raised had borders on understanding, explaining to them. For instance, there was complaint about the continuous accreditation and voting, and that they want separate accreditation. And we said, go back to the history of this country. Simultaneous accreditation and voting has only been the norm, and that is also the norm internationally all over the world. But when we came about in 2011 under the Jega leadership and pioneering the biometric and other innovations we are carrying out in the commission, we decided, deliberately, to have what we call separate period for accreditation and voting. That, of course, we all know, Nigeria will also decry that. Look, how do you ask people to come, for separate type of accreditation in the morning, then in the afternoon you ask them to come? Many people will not turn up. We said, no, at some point we are going to change that. Now, we have completed the piloting of some of the things we were doing before that informed that. And that was why, right from Kogi's election, the Kogi governorship election, after the 2015 election, we have now been having what we call the continuous accreditation and voting system, because you now have, for example, an enhanced, card reader, So we have merged that together. That is why, for this election, the poll will open by 8 o'clock, in which case, poll official should be at the polling unit, and the poll will close by 2 p.m. By 2 p.m., what is meant here is that the security personnel that deployed to that polling unit will be behind the last button by 2 o'clock. But the queue could be as long as it may be, but it's only when that person had voted that eventually the poll will now be closed in that polling unit. That was also explained to those who raised issues on the matter. And so everything that they have said, we're taking into account. So it was not that we listened to them. No, we also took that into account because they border largely on explaining to them what we are doing.
They seem not to be satisfied because we have spoken to a number of them. Now? They talk about, it's like a man, forgive my, it's like somebody who has tasted 2 different soups. Let me use that particular instance and prefers a particular one. It would seem that now Nigerian politicians prefer the accreditation first and then the voting later. They believe it is less susceptible to manipulations, especially at the end of collation when, miraculous figures could be announced as the number of people who had accredited and voted. Before, you will have a certain number who had accredited, and maybe not everybody would have voted. And they believe that those numbers will be more credible than at the end of the day, bulking up numbers because accreditation and voting were going on simultaneously.
Okay, now let me explain to Nigerians that since 2015, let's take the recent experiences. Separate accreditation and voting had never been an issue in all the elections. That's not to be corrected. And they were issued about bogus figures. As a matter of fact, the introduction of the card reader, which is a new sheriff in the electoral process, has brought credibility and integrity to those figures of accreditation, unlike the mudslide and landslide you used to have before. Now, by this procedure of now coming back to what it used to be, which is the norm all over the world, I need to let Nigeria know here that the first thing we have said is that it's going to be participatory every stage along the way in line with Section 73 of the Electoral Act. Have your party agents right there at the polling units. Now, at the end of the poll, when the ballot paper have been sorted out, counted, and the figures of the performance of the party enter into the form EC8A, it will be signed by the presiding officer, all right? And the party agent will come to sign. After signing that, the new innovation on Form EC60E, we believe that because of the purpose of opponents, that the Nigerian people who had voted in every polling unit should also be entitled to know the outcome of the result in that polling unit. That Form EC60E containing what is contained in Form EC8A will also be pasted there. Now, immediately after that, the presiding officer is required mandatorily, and that is why all parties, as we have requested of them since January 2018 that they must submit the list of their party agent. And in Akwa Ibom, you are not only submitting party agent, it must be affixed with a photograph of your party agent signed by your chairman, and we also collect the biometric because we don't want to have unknown party agent in any polling unit of our elections in the country, particularly in Akwa Ibom State, where I superintend. Now, the presiding officer is required immediately before the party agent, duly accredited observers, to immediately, through what they call an SMS. The car reader, you know, is an advanced version of Turaya. Because when they use the word transmission, people are scared by the word transmission. It is just an SMS. So you send it, what I want to explain about, issue about figures being, you know, sexed up. No, you have to send it immediately.
Let me quickly tell you something. Only yesterday, I think we had an interview here with our colleague Seun Okinbalo. He had a one-on-one with the INEC chair, and he was talking about blind spots. Will the Turaya device, will it work in those blind spots as well? What
I'm telling you is what they call the car reader, okay? Now, maybe blind spot, what it meant, maybe where we don't have reception, okay? Where you don't have reception, and you're unable to do that. By the time you get to the ward collection center, all right, you may have reception there. And in any case, we have done the entire mapping, you know, of the various network system we have, where they are stronger. And that's why the choice you may have in Cross River, Akwa Ibom, any of the states, you know, varies from one, you know, network station to the other. Now, immediately you send that, you know, through the car reader to the ward collection center, to our central server. Now, here's the beauty of the whole thing. We are still doing what we call manual, you know, recording of the result as required by Section 73 that says step by step. But here is the good news. The good news is that at the work collection center, which is the first process of now collating, all right, of collation, you are going to have two persons, the collation officer and supported by what you call the e-collation officer, because we are still piloting that process that we'll be talking about. Now, the beauty is that before myself as a presiding officer, before I get to you, you already have access to what I have sent through our central server, because we grant you access without talking to me. So it's no longer expected that by the time I get to you, I'm going to give you a figure different from what I had earlier transmitted. So first, they will pick up the car reader and look at what you have sent before the second person, who is the person to do the manual collection.
So they're not checks and balances.
Checks and balances.
Let's quickly go to Lagos and take a question.
That Nigerians should not be worried at all.